Hello, good morning, dear friends. In our last lecture, we saw the entire paper style that had been written by the 10th standard people who appeared for their examination in 2020. Now, if you have just noticed, 2 marks we have covered for the figures of speech. Okay, and it's a very important topic, learning grammatical base, and at the same time how to identify the poetic devices. So dear friends, I do understand when it is an extensive reading and at the same time when you have covered your lot of portion, only then you may understand at the time what figure of speech is. But for instance, I would just like you to guide with a small introduction to the same. So dear friends, we have figure of speech in this session. We will continue learning couple of sessions with the same, and we will give what can be done and how can that be understood. What is a figure of speech? So figure of speech means departure from ordinary form of expressions or a different way of expressing the ideas in order to get a greater effect. Now take for an example, he has brain like Albert Einstein. Now here you may have two different expressions. One is that simple word like has been used, and so you may say it's a direct comparison to Albert Einstein of that particular person. So you may say it's a simile. And at the same time, what second thing can be done is directly an ordinary person has been compared to a person who possesses the brain like Albert Einstein. And therefore, perhaps it's a sort of exaggeration. You are saying so much for that person. You mean a lot to that person. Do you understand? Yes. So dear friends, this is what you see. And that sentence, you can very well say he's smart, he's intelligent, at the same time she's very studious, and at the same time you may also say that she's having or she is an intellectual gem. But if you use such expressions in your language, what happens, dear friends, is you give a greater effect to that. We can classify figure of speech or figures of speech into 4 groups as given below. Now you see, so far we know that there are a couple of them and we need to learn each to identify them separately, but largely they have been covered under 4 different classes. So that is what the classification is. Okay. Those based on resemblance. What is the meaning of resemblance? So they look like, they may represent something. Yes. Which are they? It includes simile, metaphor, personification, and apostrophes. So if you just understand simile with like as metaphor, not direct comparison, without using word like and all. Personification, something has been personified, the characters have been personified. Okay, now personifications mostly done with the non-living things of the living character. Okay, and the apostrophe, it also shows the sort of possession. Okay, so which means the thing particular is possessed by. What is the second one? The second one is those based on contrast. Those based on contrast. It includes antithesis and epigram. So contrast, which means they talk of the same, okay, but having two different edges. Contrast is probably creating a sort of contradictory statements and yet the same. Okay, we will try understanding them once we learn them respectively. We also have C category, those based on association. What is association? You are associated with something, which means collaborated, joined together can be said. So that includes metonymy and synecdoche. Okay, synecdoche. Synecdoche. People say synecdoche. It's a synecdoche. Okay. Now we have D, that's those based on constructions. What is constructions? So it includes climax. Climax, if you see, you will have one base, then second base and third base. Slowly it's a sort of building up of particular story. So that is what the constructions means. Okay, and climax and anticlimax. See, both, one is in an ascending order, it can be. The second is descending orders, and therefore, dear friends, they are called constructions. So remember, constructions will have to be done from the base level. So here, whether it is climax or anticlimax, you may see that either you may have to go up, that is the ascending order, or you may have to come down, that is called the descending orders. Okay, let us discuss all the figures of speech referred about details. So whatever have been given in this particular way, we will discuss the same. Yes, dear friends, as we have discussed the initial and the base, now what we will see is the first figure of speech, that is simile. What is that? When there is a comparison between two objects of different kinds, but they have one common thing in them, it is called simile. Mostly there are words like or as for comparison. Dear friends, this particular thing only comes with practice. We know it can be asked for 2 marks. It is there in 2 marks with the previous paper style that we have seen. But at the same time, dear friends, it can be also asked for the 3 marks, and therefore you may have to learn them. Now again and again, if you remember the rules, regulations, you may try to compare, you may try to illustrate, you may try to understand, and after that you will be able to identify the right figure of speech. So in one attempt, if you try finding out the answer, you may fail at times. But dear friends, what you need to do at the same time, you need to practice and read the theoretical part very, having paid the utmost attention, so that whenever there are examples in front of you, you may not find them difficult to grasp the totality of the idea. Now let us understand. Now let us understand how the examples are in simile. Okay. So you are so thin like a stick. You see, you are so thin like a, so you and stick are associated with thinness. Oh, sorry, here it is thickness. Okay, so it is, you see, so thin like a, sorry, I'm very sorry, thin. Okay, like a stick, not thick. So very lean person, very I say skinny person, and that's what it is said. The robber jumped like a panther. How the panther jumps, the robber has been compared. Honesty will flourish as the big banyan. You see, you will see each and everything. There are 2 things commonly connected, and they have been joined with as and like. Oh, my love's like a red, red rose. Oh, my love's like melody. She cried like a small child, as idle as painted ship. As idle as painted ship. Okay. It's an idiom also, dear friends. So someone who is very much idle. He was very much lazy. Then you may say he is idle or as idle as a painted ship. Painted ship will not move. She was as beautiful as moon. The king's army came down like wolves on the enemies. Life is as tedious, very hectic, tedious as a twice told take. Okay, twice told take. So it is twice told take. It's like something that you are to do all of a sudden again. You were hardly prepared for once and you have now to do that particular thing second time. As proud as a peacock. Peacock is always, proud, and therefore you may say, see, a person has been compared with the pride of that is the peacock mentioned. As clear as crystal. So crystal, that particular stone, that particular metal has been compared here. As tough as leather. As old as mountains. He speaks the stories as old as mountains, like the mythological stories or whatever. Sometimes you see some of the teachers who try giving the same old examples, and then what happens, dear friends? You may say he teaches in the old style as the mountain, or is as old as mountains. As good as gold. So now gold cannot be good, but it is like, again, gold is pure and therefore with a lot of purity, okay, it has come out, and therefore something or goodness has been measured with gold. So did you understand, dear friends? Meanwhile, whenever we have the pauses, now in our textbook, the poem that we have, what shall we do? We will try to write the figures of speech given after each poem also. Okay? Yes. Now we will see what the second thing is. Metaphor. It is an implied simile. You see? Now it is a bit complicated thing, dear friends. First one is simile, and the second one is implied simile. Now sometime it is like a doctor, okay, or a particular doctor in the village who may just say that you have symptoms like, please understand my language, dear friends. You may have symptoms like that of malaria. Now either you may have it or you don't, right? You cannot say you have only symptoms, which means symptoms means you are already caught up with a particular sickness. So here we have implied simile. What does it mean? Let us understand. It is not a direct comparison as it is in the simile. So now that is thing clear, dear friends, that in simile we had direct comparison. You see, he is as tall as or as old as, he is as old as mountain. So he and mountains, they are directly compared. Here what happens? But here it is taken for granted and presented as if the two things are one. You see, they are one. Two things are one in themselves. Here we don't say she is like the man. Here we say she is the moon. Okay, she is like the moon, not man. Okay, dear friend, but here we say that she is the moon. So she has been directly compared with moon. She is like moon, then simile. She is the moon, then it is metaphor. Life is like a dream. If you say that, it becomes a simile. but life is a dream, then what will happen? It is a metaphor. Okay. Now the second example. With shining ringlets, the smooth ivory neck. You see? So ringlets, the shining neck, because they are shining with or as, with or ivory neck has been, or it is like the shining ringlet. No, the shining ringlets, the smooth ivory neck. So smooth ivory neck is just the shining ringlets. Okay, dear friends. So it is not compared with that sort of things, but it is directly associated. This nymph, okay, to the destruction of mankind. She is like the destruction. No, the nymph is okay, or she is for the destruction, like or as destruction of mankind. It has not been said. It is directly said that this nymph to the destruction of mankind. I see a lily on thy brow. See lily, like I see like lily on thy brow. No, I see directly lily on thy brow, on your brow, eyebrow. On thy cheeks a fading rose. So your cheeks are like fading rose. No, thy cheeks, your cheeks a fading rose. You see? So it is like a fading off, fading rose. So in short, dear friends, anything that earlier we used to compare with like and as, here it has been directly told that they are this. On thy cheeks a fading rose. The news was dagger to this heart. Okay, the news was a dagger to his heart. So it is very, okay, news was like a dagger to, no, directly. The camel is the ship of the desert. Camel is like the ship of the desert. No, camel is the ship of the desert. Revenge is a mankind of wild, is a kind of wild justice. Okay, so wild justice is like wild justice. No, it is directly associated that yes, if you take revenge, it is wild justice. Like wild justice, you may say, but it is directly said. They breathe, okay, they breathe, be rude. They breathe, be rude. So it is like they breathe like rude. No, they breathe, be rude, which means the rudeness has been breathed by them. Mighty hearts are held in slender chains. So they are like in slender chains. No, mighty hearts are held in slender chains. So dear friends, we will try to understand from the same point of view, and we will try to get in with proper description. We will, once we complete the explanations point of view, we will also come back to the same, okay, to learn the extra, which is the useful things from the blueprint given. Okay, thank you, dear friends.